بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. General rules of inflection. قواعد الإعراب العامة. This lesson is built on top of the previous lessons. So if you have not completed the previous lessons, please be sure to complete all of the previous lessons with all of their exercises and quizzes. Al-Umda al-Mu'raba, the inflected pillar. Takunu marfu'atan. It's in the rafa state. Marfu' means that the word is in the rafa state. You can see it's the same root. So if a word is in the rafa state, the word is said to be marfu'. So al-umdatul mu'raba, the inflected pillar. You know, pillar can be inflected and the pillar can be uninflected, like a fi'l mad can be a pillar, but it is not inflected. So this rule, the general rules of inflection that we're studying here are applicable generally, and there are exceptions and details that are slowly introduced throughout your study of Arabic grammar. So all of this has to do with theoretical linguistics, which is the heart. If you understand this theory of inflection in Arabic, everything else will start to make more sense. Unfortunately, most, if not all of the grammar courses that are taught, they do not introduce this theory of umda and pillars early on. And it kind of leaves a big gap, and it creates a bit of a challenging situation where the student is not really sure why things are happening certain ways. So al-umdatul mu'raba, the inflected pillar. In other words, we're not talking about uninflected pillar. Takunu marfu'atan. It's marfu'a, meaning that it's in the rafa state. Illa, exception, except for, either, when, sabaqaha, preceded her. Who is she? Who are we talking about? Who is this ha going back to? It's going back to al-umdatul mu'raba. Okay, it's feminine because al-umdatul mu'raba is feminine. تكون مرفوعة إلا إذا سبقها, preceded her, ناصب أو جازم. So now two new terms, nasib and jazim. Now you can tell that there's a root in here, nun sad ba, and you can tell it sounds similar to nasbun and jazmun. Nasib is ismul fa'il and nasb is masdar. Jazim is ismul fa'il and jazmun is masdar. So what's a nasib? What's a jazim? A nasib is a word, and we will see in just a minute, that causes the word after it to become mansub. In other words, enter into nasab state. It forces the word after it to enter into nasab state. And jazim, on the other hand, is a type of word. We'll see in just a minute some examples of jazim, and we'll do full chapters on nawasib and jawazim. Jazim, on the other hand, is a type of word that forces the following word to enter into jazm state. In other words, it becomes majzoom. So that's why it's called jazim. It causes jazm action, and nasib because it's causing nasab action in the following word. That sounds pretty theoretical. I agree. Let's look at some examples to make sense. The first example, Zaydun talibun. Zaydun is in rafa state. How do I know that? How do I know that Zayd is in the rafa state? Is there a sign? Yes. At the end of Zayd, there is a dhamma. That dhamma is a sign that says, hey, I'm in rafa state. I'm marfu. I'm in rafa state because I have a dhamma. I have a dhamma. And I know Zayd is mubtada from previous lesson, and I know Zayd is in the rafa state because of the dhamma. So Zayd is a subject, and every subject needs a predicate. Here's the predicate, talibun. How do I know what state the word talib is in? Well, it has a dhamma, and dhamma is a sign that tells me that this word is in the rafa state. So both Zaidun and Talibun are pillars. Both Zaidun and Talibun are mu'arab, meaning inflected. Both Zaidun and Talibun are in the rafa state because they both end with a dhamma. So look at all this information that is packed into this. Arabic is a powerful, amazing language. So detailed. There's so much information packed into words that you have to break it down slowly. So Zaid is the first pillar, as you learned in the previous lesson. Talibun is the second pillar. Zaidun is marfu because there's a dhamma ending, and Talibun is also marfu because there's a dhamma ending. Zaidun is subject, Talibun is predicate. Zaidun Talibun is a type of sentence called Jumla Ismiya. It's a complete sentence. I've got my two words, I've got my mubtada, I've got my khabar, I'm nice and happy. The grammarian is happy. You can put a smile to grammarian's face by giving her a complete sentence, which consists of a minimum of two words. Both are pillars. Let's look at the next one. Yadrusu Zaydun. Yadrusu, studying, Zaydun. What is the state of the word yadrusu? That's right. It's in the rafa state. Therefore, it's marfu because of the dhamma ending. And what is the state of the word Zaydun? That's right. It's in the rafa state. These two words make a jumla fi'liya. These two words are pillars. These two words, both of these words are inflected pillars, and both of these words are necessary critical parts of the jumla fi'liya, fi'l and fa'il. Look at the next sentence. Inna, that's interesting. What is this word inna? Is this an ism? No. Is it a fi'l? No. Well, if it's not an ism and it's not a fi'l, what is it? It's a harf, particle. And we learned in Easy Introduction to Arabic that this causes tawqeed, emphasis. Inna Zaydan talibun. Ooh, what happened here? Compare Zaydun talibun with Inna Zaydan talibun. What's the difference? Something changed. Zayd here is Zaydan. It's in the nasab state, therefore it's mansub. But here Zayd is in the rafa state. Why? Why did Zaydun become Zaydan? Is there something before Zayd that's causing it? Yes. Yes. Remember, I mentioned words are like people. Some people change, some people never change. Some people change others. Some people influence others. Inna is a strong word. It can change a subject from rafa state to nasab state. Why? Because sabaqaha nasibun, preceded it nasib. A nasib came before them. But the talib remains the same as before. So what's the difference between Zaydun talibun and Inna Zaydan talibun? The difference is that there's tawqeed, emphasis by this emphasizing particle inna. Not only that, this inna is a word that can force a subject like Zayd to change from rafa to nasab state. So this is an example of the exception where a pillar preceded by a nasib, inna is a nasib, lost its rafa state and became mansub. So this is something we have to remember, that inna causes changes in the subject. And we learn this in a non-technical way in Easy Intro to Arabic. Lam yakdhib Zaydun. Zayd did not lie. What is this word lam? This word lam is a jazim. Why is it called a jazim? If we were to ask Lam, hey, Mr. Lam, why are you called a jazim? He's going to say, hey, I'm a jazim because I force the following word into jazm state. They don't call me jazm for nothing. I cause jazm action in the following word. Lam yakdhib. Look at this sukoon ending. What is that sukoon doing here? Why is there not a dhamma? It's a pillar, right? It should be in rafa state, but it doesn't have a dhamma. It has a sukoon. Why? Who gave the sukoon? Who caused this jazm state? Lam. So in the previous example, inna caused zaydan to enter into nasab state. In this example, lam is causing mudare to enter into jazm state. How do I know that this mudare is in the jazm state? Because there's a sign. The sign is sukoon, and sukoon, as we learned in previous lessons, sukoon is a sign of jazm. And then you have zaydun, which is a fa'il, and it's still in the rafa state. The fa'il still has a dhamma ending. Let's look at the next word. Lan yakdhiba zaydun. Lan yakdhiba. Lan, as you know from easy intro to Arabic, lan means will not, and it comes before mudare. It changes the time of mudare from present to future. So lan yakdhiba. Zayd will not lie. So look at the word yakdhiba. Look at the ending of the word yakdhiba. There's a fatha here. Here there was a sukoon. Here there's a fatha. Why? Who's causing the word yakdhiba to enter into nasab state? Well, there's a fatha here. It must be in the nasab state. Who did it? Who caused that change? Lan. So you can see lam and lan are examples of nasib, examples of jazim. Lam is a jazim and lan is a nasib. So how many nasibs here? We have inna as a nasib. We have lam as a nasib. And we have lam as a jazim, and then we have lan as a nasib. So pay attention to these changes from now on. You will see lots of words with changes in their ending. All right, let's continue on. So that was the first rule. The first rule in the general theory of inflection says that al-umdatul mu'rabatu takunu marfu'atan illa idha sabaqaha nasibun or jazimun. That's the first rule. The inflected pillar will be marfu except when preceded by a nasib like inna and lan, or jazim like lam. The second part of the theory of inflection says, amma, as for, amma means as for, amma al-fadlatul mu'raba, as for the inflected non-pillar, fatakunu mansuba. Okay, so the default, the state for the uninflected non-pillar is not rafa, it's nasab. So compare this to this. Here it says marfu'a. The al-umdatul mu'raba takunu marfu'a. The inflected pillar is marfu'. But the inflected non-pillar is mansuba, meaning that it's a different state. Okay, this is an important part of the theory. If you get this, everything else in the Arabic grammar will make more sense. If you don't get this, you will have some challenges. So the inflected non-pillar is going to be in the nasab state, illa idha sabaqaha, except when preceded it jarrun. What's a jarrun? A jarrun is a word that causes the following word to enter into jar state. Okay. And the examples of jar will become clear as we take more lessons. But the most obvious example is prepositions. We did a lot of prepositions in Easy Intro to Arabic, Book 2. The prepositions were an, min, fi, ila, ala, al-ba, wal-lam, wal-kaf, and hatta. These prepositions are all jar. They are called huruful jar. They cause the following word to enter into jar state. Fatakunu majrura. So then it becomes, as a result of it, majroor. Examples. Darasa Zaydun al-Arabiyyata fil bayt. Zayd studied the Arabic, in other words, the Arabic language. Darasa Zaydun al-Arabiyyata fil bayt. Okay, so let's break this down. Darasa, first pillar. Zaydun, second pillar. Al-Arabiyyata, we're done with pillars. You can't have more than 2 pillars. So what is this word al-Arabiyya? It's not a pillar, so what is it? It's a fadla. Good job. And there is a fatha ending. There's a fatha ending. Why is there a fatha ending? Why can't I say dhamma like this? Can I do that? Can I have a dhamma like that? That's a huge typo. That's a big sin. And in the Arabic language, obviously I'm joking, it's not a sin. That's a huge typo. It should have a fatha. Why? Because of this rule we just covered. It has to be mansub. It has to be in the nasb state. And the sign of the nasb state is fatha. Okay. So why is there a dhamma on the word at the end of the word Zayd? Why dhamma? Because it's a pillar. What kind of pillar? It's a fa'il. Where is the fa'il? The fa'il is before it. Is the fa'il inflected mu'rab or mabni? The fa'il is mabni. Why? Because it's al-madi and only al-mudari is mu'rab, as we learned in the previous lessons. The previous 3 lessons are super critical for you to understand this lesson, because everything you learned in the previous 3 lessons is coming together here now with additional theory. So make sure you are fluent in the previous 3 lessons. And then you have fi. What kind of word is fi? It's a preposition. Is it an umda or a fadla? Well, umda is, we know umda are pillars, and we already have 2 pillars in the sentence, so no more pillars. So what is this fi? Another fadla. And what is this al-bayti? Another fadla. And why is the word al-bayti has a kasra ending? Why kasra at the end of the word al-bayt? Who gave it a kasra? Who forced it to have a kasra? Yes, good job. The word fi is the jar, harful jar, that forces the following word to enter into jar state, and that's why we're seeing a kasra. So can I say fatha here? Nope, that's a typo. Can I say dhamma here? Nope, that's a typo. There's only one option, and that's a kasra. Look at the next example. Zaydun talibun fil jamiati. It's pretty much the same idea happening here as before, the same exact thing. Pillar, marfu, mubtada, khabar, marfu, pillar, fi, fadla, harf jar, al-jami'ati must have a kasra because there's a jar before it, and it's a fadla. Fadla, if a fadla has a jar before it, then the fadla gets a kasra. Next one, jalasa zaydun ala al-kursi. We're looking at pretty much the same concept repeating. Jalasa, fi'l, mad, uninflected. Zaydun, fa'il, marfu', pillar. Ala, fadla, harf jar. Al-kursi has a kasra ending because it's a fadla preceded by a harf jar, ala. Safartu, I traveled, min al-madinati, from the city, or the city of the Prophet, depending on the context. Ila sham, where are the 2 pillars? The first pillar is right here, safar. That's al-fi'l al-madi, and it's uninflected, it's mabni. So no point in talking about the states. 2 is the fa'il, and it's a pronoun. There's your two pillars. Everything else is fadla. Min is a fadla. Al-Madinati has a kasra because of min. Ila is a fadla. And Ashami. Asham is Damascus or Syria. Bilad al-Sham is Syria in general, and Asham is Damascus. Mim has a kasra ending because of ila. And then raghibtu. Raghib, first pillar, fi'l. T, I said two, it should be T. Raghibti, fa'il. So both of these are pillars, but both of these are uninflected pillars. So don't talk about signs of the states. Both are uninflected because they're both mabni, because al-fi'l madi is mabni as we learned earlier, and pronoun is also mabni as we learned earlier. Anil lahwi, I desire to move away from, to stay away from Allahu. Allahu is idle talk, vain talk, useless talk. Allahwi is ending with a kasra because of this jar an. Both of these are fadlas. I got two pillars and two fadlas in this sentence. And finally, alhamdulillah. If you survive this theory, then say alhamdulillah. That was a lot of technical stuff. It's all coming together, but believe me, with practice, it's all going to come naturally. It's all going to be very, inshallah, easy if you just practice, practice, practice. Alhamdu is the first pillar, which is ending in a dhamma. It's a mubtada. And lillahi is a two-word combination. The harf jar lam and the word Allahi is a two-word combination. And the word Allahi has a kasra ending because of the lam. So this two-word combination, lillahi, that's composed of lam and Allah, is doing the job of being the predicate, and more on that later, inshallah. So that's the theory. In the next lesson, inshallah, I'll recap the theory, inshallah, with more examples and basically through the English. Right now, we just did the Arabic. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een.